Okay, so my name is Seamus Riley. I'm the Vice President for Institutional Advancement here at Parkland College, and the Entrepreneurial Pen Talks is one of the things that we've developed to try to give students a chance to meet some folks in our community who are entrepreneurs. And very often when we've brought people in here, the average age of our entrepreneurs who've come in has been older, and they've a lot of experience and they've done a lot of things. But we're trying to focus this year on some folks who are closer in age to you and to our student body, and also some folks who are doing some exciting local things. So it's my distinct pleasure and honor to introduce Sean Baird here. I've known Sean for a very, very long time. His dad and I were in grad school together. And Sean's probably been one of the most interesting, single-minded sort of folks I've ever met, in that from a very, very early age, Sean was a very, very determined individual and had a clear sense of what it was that he wanted to do. And I can tell you at the time that when Sean was thinking these great thoughts about what he was going to do, there were very, 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 very few people even thinking along those lines. And so in my mind, that's what really makes him an entrepreneur. It's somebody who can really think about what's going to happen. And the other thing about Sean, which is really interesting, is he was very successful, but he didn't stop. He was on to the next thing. And that's one of the other pieces of being an entrepreneur that is really important. It's not good enough to just sit on your laurels and say, hey, you know, I made it, I was successful, because as we know, 80% of all entrepreneurial startups fail, but it's knowing what the next step is. And these people are a lot of fun to be around because they're always thinking about a new angle. They're passionate about the community and where they live. They're interested in new things and the application of technology, and so it's always fun. So I'm delighted you have an opportunity to listen to Sean speak here, and he's going to speak for a bit and give you a chance to ask some questions, so hopefully you'll do that. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, man.
Good.
All right, yeah, I just got a little slideshow for my introduction here. Like Seamus said, my name is Sean Baird. I was born and raised in Champaign, Illinois. I love this town. I've been around my whole life. I've watched it grow for a long time, and it really means a lot to me to be able to start my business here and continue on that path. So I've worked in the hospitality industry my entire life. I knew from early on that that's what I wanted to do, something about the customer service. I love cooking. I love presenting food. I love the different creative aspects of it. I took a lot of inspiration from my Uncle Steve. He owns a restaurant group in Oklahoma City. He's got 3 restaurants now. They do about $10 million in sales a year. They do Cajun food, oysters, steaks, seafood. And, you know, we would go to Oklahoma for Christmas to visit the relatives, and we would get to run around his restaurants and kind of see what the back end was like, you know, the owner-operator aspect of it. So I was pretty lucky. A lot of people don't know what they want to do, and it takes a long time for them to figure that out. But for me, it was very easy to come to the conclusion that I wanted to do something in the hospitality industry. It's a huge industry. There's so many different things you can do, but I knew early on that that's what I wanted to do. So a big shocker to people that knew me in high school and my kind of work ethic back then, that I actually ended up going to college at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale. I studied hospitality and tourism with the restaurant management. While I was there, I worked my entire time there. I've been working since I was 15 in the industry. I've always enjoyed learning new positions and took pride in the jobs that I did. So while I was there at Carbondale, I worked for a chef named William Connors, Chef Bill we call him. He's a big tattooed biker guy. He was a huge influence for me because he was the head of the dining hall. He was the head chef for the dining halls there. And when he took over, the amount of local, sustainable, organic food that they served in the dining halls was like 3% or something. So his mission was to try to, you know, we're sitting in some of the best farmland in the world. So his mission was to increase the percent of local sustainable practices that they do. And that's a huge inspiration for me and the way I want to do business. So I always kind of go back to him when I'm thinking about a new venture or new products that we can do or new menu items, and I kind of use that a lot. So in August 2012, me and 2 U of I students, Jeremy Mandel and Daniel Kraus, we opened up Crack the Egg Came First. And for those of you who don't know, we did gourmet breakfast sandwiches. The basis was every sandwich had hash browns and eggs on it. It was quick, easy, fast for students. Our main operation was on campus. We did tater tots, local coffee, a lot of specialty craft sodas. So we took that one truck and a tiny rented storage unit. We got to multiple trucks. We got major festival invites like Bonnaroo and Electric Forest. Bonnaroo is a 90,000 person music festival. We had to leave on a Monday and essentially camp with 15 friends and employees. You know, we had 4 U-Hauls packed full of products and goods to use. And it was some of the craziest times of my life, but it was a lot of hard work, but it was a lot of fun. And we actually got chosen by the Bonnaroo staff. They actually sent somebody here to test our food. We were set up in what was called food truck alley, and there were 12 other trucks that they handpicked across the country to come out there. And I think the second year we were there, we did $46,000 in sales from Thursday to Sunday. So we were constantly working. I mean, constantly selling food. I mean, we had huge lines at every turn. So 8 months ago, I actually decided to leave Cracked, and there's many reasons why I decided to leave that I won't get into, but the main reason was a new opportunity came up for me to expand my love of the hospitality industry and kind of take my career to the next level. And that's essentially what it is. It was an opportunity to move into a space in downtown Champaign, which is nearly impossible right now to find locations in that area. Cody Sokolsky, he owns Big Grove Tavern, and he helped develop downtown a lot. He's a great guy, great mind. He kind of helped us acquire that space. So the new venture is Watson's Shack and Rail. We're gonna do fried chicken, rotisserie chicken, locally sourced, organic, grass-fed, free-range Amish chickens. We've got a full bar. We're doing house cocktails. We've got a frozen drink machine. We're gonna do bourbon slushies and whiskey and Coke slushies. We're doing craft cocktails. We've got a stage for live music. It's kind of a bluegrass bar is the kind of vibe we're going for. I'm a big music lover, and I've been listening to bluegrass for a long time. So we built a stage up in the place. So right now we're about 2 or 3 months out from opening. We're in the construction phase. Every day people are coming in, trying to sell us products. We got construction workers moving around. After this, I'm gonna go continue to paint the space. We're doing a lot of the work ourselves, which is a lot of fun for us because we kind of get to have a say and help develop the space and watch it grow from a front row seat. So I prepared. Stop this guy. I prepared 10 pieces of advice for entrepreneurs that I think could help anybody out who wants to open a small business. By a show of hands, does anybody having a concept or want to open a small business or want to be an entrepreneur or any of the sort? A couple people? Okay. So the 10 pieces of advice I have for you, the first one is opportunity. You need to take advantage of existing opportunity or create your own opportunity. So the 2 instances I'll tell you about is 2 semesters before I graduated Carbondale, I had always talked about opening a food truck or owning a restaurant, and back in the day it was just me talking and thinking of ideas and daydreaming. So I think dreaming of your concept and trying to picture yourself where you want to be in 5-10 years is very important. But the first opportunity was I was back home here, Christmas break, and I was hanging out with a friend that I hadn't seen in a long time. I randomly decided to call him, and I said, we were having a beer, talking about what we wanted to do after school. I said, I want to open a food truck. I want to go to Austin and get some inspiration and come back and try to open one here. There hasn't been many food trucks in Champaign. And he said, that's funny you say that. I got 2 friends that are actually, not only do they have the same idea, but they're in the process of starting that. So I said, hey, give me their number, let me reach out to them. So he gave me their number. Next night I called them. After a couple phone conversations and Skype sessions, we decided we wanted to work together. So I could have easily not asked for their number. I could have easily took that number and put it in my pocket and been too busy to do anything else. But I went out and I called them and I made it happen, and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today if I hadn't reached out to them. The second instance is associated with the new space. My parents were outside of Big Grove Tavern, and they had known Cody Sokolsky, the landlord of the new spot we're going into, for a long time. He saw them, they started to talk. He said, you know, I know what Sean's doing, I like it, you know, I want to talk with him. He's a big proponent of new entrepreneurs and developing downtown in the community. So he gave them his card with his cell phone number on it. Next time I saw my parents, they gave it to me. And I was still in Cracked at this point, completely invested in that. And I thought, okay, I sat on it for a week, and I was like, maybe I'm too busy for this, you know, maybe nothing will come out of it. I set up a meeting with him, 2-hour conversation. It went great. We hit it off right from the start, and 5 meetings later, we were negotiating the lease for the space. So it really is as simple as reaching out and making connections. It is all about who you know, but don't be discouraged if you do reach out to an opportunity and it doesn't work out, because I've had hundreds of meetings that have not panned out at all. You know, I've met and talked with a bunch of people, and nothing ever came of it, but you always learn from those instances. And so don't be afraid if the first time you reach out to somebody, it doesn't work out for you. You know, keep trying, and the opportunities will come to you. So the second thing I have is find the right support. I do not recommend opening a business by yourself at all. You know, you always see the commercials for some tax program or something, and it's just the overworked single business owner who's doing the dishes, cooking, payroll, tax, accounting, all this stuff. It's not sustainable, and the stress will tear you down very fast. So I encourage you to find people that are just as passionate and invested in a concept as you are. It may take a while. You might not find the right person at the start, but having a team of people dedicated and invested in the same thing will make for a better foundation in your business. And along with creating a team or creating a business partner scenario, everyone needs to have a job duty. You know, with Cracked, when we started, Daniel and I were kind of the same position. So we were kind of stepping on each other's toes, but we took a step back and we said, these are our set positions. You focus on this, you focus on this. It makes for a better foundation in your business, and it really helps in the cohesion of the people and the collaboration aspect of it. So I encourage you to find somebody who you can work with and who's just as passionate about it as you are. The third thing I have is you do not have to be rich to be an entrepreneur or to work your way into an ownership position or a profit-sharing position in a company. I did not have a lot of money. I got into Cracked because I had a skill set and an experience that my other 2 partners didn't have. You know, I was the cooking guy. I worked in so many restaurants. I actually knew how to execute their concept and their plan. You know, I knew how to take the food from production to serving it. So I used my sweat equity and my industry knowledge to maneuver myself into an ownership position of Cracked. So, and nowadays, does anybody know what crowdsource funding is? It's kind of a crazy phenomenon that just over the last 5 years has been going on, and a lot of places in town, Pandemonium Donuts started their truck that way. Triptych, I think, did a small, Triptych Brewing did a small crowdsourcing. So essentially what it is it's websites like Kickstarter and Indiegogo. You have a concept, but you need funding. You know, you have a good business plan, you have a good idea. You essentially go to the community to fund your venture. And it could be as anywhere from $1 donation to a couple grand. And it doesn't have to be the full extent of your funding, but it can be anywhere in between. And there's stipulations for each website. Some of them require a percentage of the business, but some, if somebody donates money to you, you give an incentive back to them, a t-shirt, you know. If we did it for Cracked, we would give them a gift card for free food or merchandise or swag. And the glorious thing about this is not only do you get your funding that you don't have, but you start off with a base of people that are already invested into your business. You know, they feel like they literally helped you start it because they did. So you already start off with a base of people that are passionate about your business, and it's a really great way to get funding for a concept or a business idea if you don't have the money. So, and you should do some research if you don't know about it. You'd be surprised at the big companies that actually started that way. I know a lot of the tech companies and a lot of the social media companies started that way as well. The fourth thing I have is mise en place. Mise en place is a French cooking term which means everything in its place. So if I were to make a soup, I mean, you see it on the Food Network all the time when we're preparing. They have everything laid out in front of them, ready to go. Preparation, you know, my veggies are diced, my spices are weighed out and portioned, my oil's hot, ready to go before I start cooking. And I relate this in the business term, it's preparation. You know, so much goes into opening a business other than I'm going to open the door and start selling food. You know, we've been working on Watson's for 11 months now, and we're still 2.5 months out. So I'm still preparing myself. There's so much market research to be done. And a lot of times you might find out that after doing that kind of prep work and that research that maybe this business, you know, isn't right, or maybe I need to rethink it. So if you do have a concept and you want to execute it, I encourage you to do your prep work, do your homework, research, set yourself up to succeed. And there are things you're going to be learning on the fly, obviously, but there's a lot of stuff you can do to help prepare yourself to execute your business. So the fifth thing I have is write it down. So I see a couple of you people writing stuff down. My uncle in Oklahoma City who owns the restaurants, he manages 3 restaurants. He calls it riding the bike. He goes around and he steps back and he looks at his business from afar. He has a notepad and pen with him every day. And in my instance with Cracked, you know, we'd be working 12, 14-hour days. I'd be grilling sandwiches. One of my employees would come up and say they'd have a complaint or a request or a great idea, you know, because a lot of those ideas come right after you need them, you know what I'm saying? So having a pen and paper, you know, everyone's got a phone. There's apps on them. You can take notes everywhere. So, and unless you have a steel trap mind, which not many people do, writing stuff down will keep you more organized. It will help you compile your thoughts and keep them all together. So having the ability to write stuff down will keep you more organized, and it will benefit you in the long run. So the sixth thing I have is emails. I was never very good at emails. You know, I would rather work 24 hours, sweating and working, you know, super hard. But then when it comes down to sit behind a computer and look at emails and respond and everything, I was never very good. I'm continually trying to get better at it, but I think it's huge, and I think our generation gets a really bad rap. You know, we're on our phones for hours on end. We have access to our email, but we still can't get it right. You know, it's not a text message. You need proper etiquette in responding. You don't have to have an answer to somebody to respond to them immediately, but it's huge for small business owners because we get emails every day about employees, you know, people asking about our business, people wanting to sell us stuff. Being able to communicate via email is very crucial if you're going to try to open a business or be an entrepreneur. And I think many of us could benefit from doing research on the proper ways to respond. And like I said, I'm not very good at it. I'm still working at it. But it is very important when you're running a small business to be proficient at emails. The seventh thing I have is adapt and evolve. The day we opened Cracked, the next day we did things different. The week after that we did things different. You know, a year later we did things so completely different from the first day we opened that, you know, it was just absolutely completely different. You need to be able to constantly look at your business, your procedures, and never be satisfied with how they work. You need to be constantly taking in new information and looking at your procedures. You know, it was easy for me with Cracked because I could step back and say, all right, well, we need to prep a bigger batch of this food because we're running out. Or how can we cook these eggs faster at a better quality? How can we get the food out more? You know, you constantly need to be evolving. And I think a lot of businesses and owners get in a rut, or they're too busy, or they're comfortable with where their business is at, but you should always be trying to adapt and evolve your business. And a lot of it is taking in new information. You know, there's so much technology out there, new technology that helps business owners. So do the research on it, you know. Take advice from other people, look at other concepts and how they work, see what you can do. A lot of big companies have teams of people that just sit there and say, how can we be more efficient? You know, I read an article about Amazon, how they stored all their products on pallets together, and now they're storing different products together to save space. And apparently they're saving, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars in space in their warehouses just because of an innovative idea like, well, we don't need to put everything in a pallet together, boxed up. We can put things that fit, you know, better together to save space and better the business. So always be taking a step back and looking at your concept or the procedures that you do, and try to adapt and evolve. The 8th thing I have is give what you've been given, and this is a big one for me. If you're lucky enough for your community to accept your business and support you, then in my mind, you have to give back to them, whether it's through local events, charities, food donations, you know, marketing support. There's a million different ways you can give back to your community. This is also big with employees. If an employee has been with you a long time or has respected your company and worked hard for you, you owe it to them to give back to them. And especially in the hospitality industry with such a high turnover rate, your employees will want to work for you. They will feel proud to work for you, and they will respect you if you give back to them. And a lot of the times it is paying them a fair wage. There's a lot of corporations in this country, I don't need to name them all, but that have kind of steered away from treating their employees the right way or giving back to the community. You know, they sit in boardrooms and they look at numbers, and it's just the numbers. It's profit, profit, profit. What can we do? And you will have to sacrifice some profit to give back to your employees in that way. But, you know, something we want to do with Watson's Shack and Rail is give all our full-time employees health benefits. I mean, it's a big thing. Yes, it costs money, but your turnover rate will be a lot less high. People will respect you. You know, if you work a job and you don't respect your boss, you don't care about that job. You're doing it for the pay. You're doing it because that's what you need to do. But I would encourage you to give back to your community because they are the reason your business has succeeded. So that's a big one for me. The 9th thing is find a lawyer you can trust. There's nothing sexy about contracts and you know, leases and non-competes and share equity agreements. And I know when we were starting Cracked, we were so excited, you know, we were all young, ready to go. We wanted to open a food truck, and then bam, we'd have to sit in a 2-hour meeting about our operating agreements that cost more money than, you know, a quarter of the business cost to start up. So, but this is something you do not want to skimp on, especially in my opinion, because I've gotten bought out of a company. I've seen the ins and outs, and you know, you hear horror stories, signing a contract, and then a month later, your business partner owns all of your shares because of some crazy lingo that the lawyers put in there. So it's something you don't want to skimp on. Finding a good lawyer that you can trust. It's not the easiest thing, but the way I did it was talk to people. If somebody has a lawyer that has treated them well and you trust that person, give the lawyer a shot, see what happens. And I mean, that's how I found mine, and it's worked out since. But it's definitely not something you want to skimp on. There's nothing fun about it. The contracts and all this stuff is made to confuse the average person. I don't know if it's a grand scheme or something, but it is made to confuse the average person, and there's so much of the paperwork, filing with the state and everything that goes along with opening a business that is very important that you do not want to mess up, you know, taxes, contracts, and everything. So I would encourage you to find a lawyer before and do not skimp on that when you're opening a business. So the 10th and last thing is take inspiration from everywhere and translate that into your work. I know with our new venture, Watson's Shack and Rail, we're taking a lot of inspiration from the Chicago restaurant scene. They always seem to have new hip restaurants, and they always seem to have stuff that people aren't thinking about. And you don't have to steal things menu item for menu item, but there's nothing wrong with taking bits and pieces from other concepts and bringing it toward your own concept. Not just with other businesses, but music, art, other people. When you hear somebody talk and they're passionate about their concept or something, take that inspiration and try to translate it into your own concept. So never be satisfied with what you're doing, and continually take in new information. And a lot of it is talking with people, researching it. I mean, everyone has access to the internet. I can't tell you how many YouTube videos I've watched on how to properly dice food or use knife skills, or different ways to fry chicken. I've been looking up a ton of videos for the past 11 months, and not only that, but there's articles, pictures, just small things that will give you inspiration. So constantly be taking in new stuff, and try to translate that into your work. So that's the 10 things I have. And Seamus wanted me to talk a little bit about the hospitality industry in Champaign and the kind of community we have here. So 15, 16 years ago, downtown Champaign was nothing. There was a couple bars. People didn't want to go down there. It was not like it was today. And one of the cool things now is we have so many bars and restaurants. Not a single one of them are franchised, corporate-owned restaurants. They are all local concepts that were created here by people that moved here or people that have lived here their whole life. So that's something very cool about this downtown. Right next to Watson Shack and Rail is a brand new Hyatt building, hotel. There's M1 and M2 developments down there. They're constantly expanding. And not only in downtown, but you have campus town. There's bars and restaurants for days. Research Park is expanding. There's so much going on in this town, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. You can even go out to Savoy, and there's restaurants and bars out there. So if anybody is interested in the hospitality industry, there is millions of opportunities here in town for you to look into. Not just serving food at a restaurant, but the farmland here is great, like I mentioned earlier, and there's so many opportunities in that aspect. Being a purveyor, or I meet with wine reps every day, and liquor reps, and beer reps, and food reps, and people trying to sell me their products. There's so many opportunities in the hospitality industry other than just selling food. And this town is, I'm in love with it more and more every day, and that's why I've put so much into the new venture downtown, because I really believe that it is a great foodie community, and people will come out and try your food. It's all about getting them the second time, which will determine if your business is going to succeed. But the community really appreciates entrepreneurs, new ideas, new food culture. So it's a great town for that, and I encourage you, if you want to open a business or a food truck, this is a good town for it, at least to get some experience and take it somewhere else. So that's all I had. Does anybody have any questions for me?
What risks would you consider in your business?
So when we opened Cracked, I think it happened so fast that we really didn't think about the risks. But clearly, if you put your own money up, there's that at risk. If you open a business and you fail and you don't execute properly, there's clearly the risk that the community will see that. And but financially is the big one if you're putting up your own money. Other risks, if you spend, Watson Shack and Rail, like I said, we've spent 11 months on it right now. I've dedicated almost an entire year to it. If something were to happen and it were to fail, that's time right there. That's a lot of time I could have been working, or could have been working on other ventures. It's time and money really is the main thing.
I wonder how you balance everything out. You're struggling, all the other things you have to do. How do you balance everything
That's a big one, and I know when we started Cracked, we were working so many hours that I really couldn't balance everything out. So, and that goes along with finding partners and finding people that you can trust to run your business, because if you don't give yourself time for your family or your loved ones or things you like to do, then it will grind you down. So finding people that you can trust so you can step away and actually have a couple days off. The hospitality industry is clearly lots of hours, lots of hard work. That's a given for opening a business, but in the hospitality world, I think it's tenfold. So, I mean, for me, it was easy with Cracked. You know, I love music and I love music festivals. I've been going to them for a long time. With Cracked, I got to actually go to music festivals and work there. But I don't know, I think it's little things. If you really love what you're doing and you're passionate about it, it is a sort of balance in itself. So don't get into something that you don't feel comfortable, you know, working your ass off for. It won't be worth it, and you'll burn yourself out really quick. But balance is key. So having somebody in your business that you trust and you can step back and actually have a weekend off is huge. And it's all about finding the right team to support you.
It seems like that, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have another
Go
question.
ahead.
Yeah, Michael, how did you gauge competition? Like, how do you manage, how you think about it?
Yeah, so for Cracked, there was two other food trucks in town, Masamigos and Burrito King. So what we saw, we saw a void. We saw a void of competition. And since we started, I would like to think that we kind of started the whole concept food truck scene. We have Pandemonium, you have a Caribbean grill food truck, you have the Brick Rocks Korean tacos. We have, I think there's probably 15 trucks now. So when we started Cracked, there was a void of competition. And since we were kind of the first ones and we had a really strong base, when another one opened up, Daniel, my business partner, he never wanted me to talk to people and give them advice on opening food trucks. But I said, man, it's not about that. If there's more food trucks, it just shows that we're better than the other ones. And with Watson Shack and Rail, we developed the concept around the space. And we really, in the same kind of instance, we realized there was a void for that kind of cuisine downtown. You know, that kind of southern comfort food done right, done at a good price point. So, yeah, I mean, so in my two instances, it was a void of competition that led us to those kind of concepts that we decided on. But like I said, if you do your thing and people respect you and you have a good product, then the more the merrier, for all I'm concerned.
With your new restaurant, like Watson's, I mean, it's like a regular restaurant, right?
Yeah, brick and mortar. Yeah.
Brick and mortar restaurant. So how with the food truck, there was a competition with. How are you handling now that you're engaging the restaurant industry?
Like I said, downtown, it's all locally owned. None of them are franchise corporate restaurants. There's a new Italian place, and I just met the gentleman, Dario, yesterday. And we were talking. I said, yeah, I don't think we're going to step on each other's toes at all. And he said, no, it's not about that. In Chicago, where he has his other another one of his restaurants, he said there's restaurants every single block. We work together. We collaborate, and that's something that we're trying to take in with Watson's is my head chef and I, we have a lot of connections in town with farms and other restaurants, and we want to bring those people in and collaborate with them. But honestly, we're not open yet, so I don't really know what the competition holds for me. I know some people have the mindset that another restaurant is bad for business, but for us, we're doing our thing, and the more the merrier. So.
From the as an employer in the hospitality industry, what special skills do you think a hospitality student could bring to you that would set them apart from other candidates?
Rather than coming with a set of skills, it's the ability to want to learn those skills and be open to wanting to, you know, when I was younger I worked at Buffalo Wild Wings for 3 years and Lone Star, and I would always, once I was proficient at a position, I bugged them all the time. I said, let me be a server now. Let me expo, you know, let me get back and cook. So really just the want and need to, if I can see your passion for an industry, it doesn't matter if you have no skills, because we can train you to do those skills. But it depends, you know, there's, like I said, there's so many different positions in the hospitality industry, but really if you could be a blank canvas, and if you come to me with a passion and I see that you want to learn stuff from me, then we'll take you under the wing and we'll show you those skills, and we'll give you those skills ourselves. But clearly it's good for us if you have some server experience, some cooking experience, you know, how to use the commercial kitchen equipment that can be dangerous if you don't use it properly. But above all, if you have an open mind and you want to learn those things, and you come to me and you seem passionate, then we'll take that over anybody who comes to me and says, you know, well, I got 10 years experience, this, that, and that, and, you know, I'm big talk. But we like, my buddy was in the Marines, and he said the Marines always like to, the people that never had shot a gun before in their life, because you can teach them how to do it the right way from the start. And I think that's important in the hospitality industry, especially when you start a new job and a new concept, because things are different at every single place. Some of those skills can pass over, but if I'm able to mold you the exact way that this concept needs, then I think it's good.
You clearly went into this, you had a passion for this, and it was really interesting with Cracked. I was there at the beginning of it and watching how you sort of shape that passion into doing things. A lot of times people are thinking about, oh, entrepreneur, I'd like to own a business, and it's on the money end. Like, I want to own a business because I don't want to work for anybody else and I want to make money. But I mean, it's clear that what drives you is your passion, and like going into Watson's, yeah, brick and mortar, and it's certainly a progression, but it's also a passion for blues music and for authentic food and for local food and a different vibe. That's your passion is what makes you go, right? Absolutely, yeah. I mean, with Cracked, you know, I had never had a salaried job. I didn't know what big checks look like. That's not why we started it. Maybe one of my other partners had that in mind, but I never looked at it as I want to do this because I want to be filthy rich. It doesn't hurt to daydream about driving a Lamborghini or having big houses and stuff, but if that's the main reason you're getting into it, then go be a stock trader in Wall Street or do one of those jobs. But yeah, I mean, I never looked at it as a paycheck and that's it. It was always, I don't want to spend my life doing something just to get a paycheck or get involved with something that I'm not passionate about, because it's a waste of time in my opinion. So.
So I mean, obviously, like, whenever someone starts or even thinks about wanting to be an entrepreneur or starting a business, there's that level of doubt that gets into people's heads. And I mean, obviously, you overcame that and now you're successful, but you know, everyone has to start somewhere. So how do you think you penetrated that ceiling? Like, how did you mentally just overcome that and say, I actually have a shot at doing this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of it is taking that risk. It's always going to be in the back of your head. You know, what if this doesn't work out? You know, we said it for Cracked, and especially for Watson's. It's taken us 11 months to develop this concept. Just the other week, I was like, man, I really hope this pans out, because you're always going to get that. But you know, the leap of faith. Take the leap of faith. If you really believe in your concept, and if you're passionate about it, and your food's good. I mean, that's the main thing. But there's always that in the back of your head. But you just gotta do the research, and if all signs point that you have a chance of being successful at it, then yeah, you just gotta go with it and kind of put that in the back of your mind for a little bit. But it's always going to be there, you know. It's a risk, and everyone takes it opening a business. Like you said, many businesses fail, but many businesses fail and people learn from that and their next venture succeeds, or maybe their third or fourth and fifth. So there's a lot to be learned from a failed business, or even developing a concept. I mean, we create concepts every day. Well, just the other day we were painting, we were like, let's do a crab shack here where you do the big crab boils, and we're like, oh, that's cool, but the seafood industry, the prices are high, or this, that, and the other, so let's not do it. But we're always thinking about new things, but there's always the chance that it could fail and not work. You just have to, if you believe in what you're doing, then it's a no-brainer to just go for it.
One of the reasons why a lot of businesses struggle is because there's such a huge investment in infrastructure. And I mean, I remember when you're getting cracked, you start and you need a truck, and you can't just, ironically, you can't just get a minivan and make it a food truck.
No.
You actually have to have, there's standards. I mean, there's 2 major restaurants in town closed down this week because of health
happens all the time.
Violations,
Yeah.
or not making it. You've built a lot of sustainability into the ventures. I mean, obviously Watson's is a big step, but I mean, part of it seems to me like your modus operandi is to not overreach on the front end of a business opportunity, but to play within limits that you can control, and then expand once you have some solid foundation. Yeah,
well, like I said, with Cracked, we started with 1 truck. It cost us $85,000, and we rented out a tiny little storage unit. We rented space from Strawberry Fields. I mean, we were packed to the brim, and we started that way. One, because that's how we had to start, but now we worked ourselves into a huge warehouse that has its own commercial kitchen and everything like that. But you're going to have to start off, like at Watson's, for instance. Our walk-in is pretty small. Our kitchen, it's an old shotgun style building. The kitchen is literally, it's just the size that we could put a commercial kitchen in, and if it was any smaller, it wouldn't work. So you're going to have to start with a shell of what you want to be, and just to get off the ground. But as you go along, you can build the infrastructure and go with it. But yeah, you're not going to get everything that you want or that you envisioned from the start. You'll need to work toward that and find different ways to do that.
How do you guys handle your marketing? Do you do it yourself?
With Cracked, one of my other partners was the marketing end of it, and with food trucks, it's a ton of social media. Everyone's on Facebook and Twitter and whatnot. Some companies outsource it to people that are specialists in it. With my new venture, one of my good friends, he's taken on the whole marketing aspect, and he has experience from one of his family companies that he's been working with. But look at trends, and like I said before, take inspiration from other people. If you see that somebody's marketing campaign is working, or take ideas from other things that you see, but have one person focused on it. Don't try to have everyone involved, especially in social media and Facebook and Twitter. You want to have one unanimous voice for your business. You don't want to say, oh, well, that was Sean posting, or that was Daniel, or you want to have one kind of unanimous voice for it. And I don't know, there's new technology and new tools every day to help with marketing. I think utilizing local artists and really putting a lot into your logo and your artwork and your merchandise is big, because what people liked about Cracked was it was the whole package. It didn't just look like a rundown truck. We got it wrapped by a company called Monster Media, and we got a local artist to draw and depict it. I mean, you saw it, the crazy breakfast town, and it was the whole package. I mean, you need to sell yourself in its entirety for your concept, and I think people like that we didn't skimp on that aspect of it, because it really is an image, that you're trying to show your customers, and they will appreciate cool artwork and cool logos. So.
That it? Any more questions? One more? This is your chance. So it's not very often that I get to introduce somebody that I've known from way, way, way before they were even going to kind of high school, let alone going to college and being a successful entrepreneur. And I really hope that you took away some things. That was one of the best presentations I've witnessed here in terms of practical applications and real stuff that you can do. And hard sweat equity, and he's going back to start painting the new restaurant. So I want to thank Cindy and the students from AMP for helping do the publicity. This stuff here, the Parkland Entrepreneurial Network, this was done by our AMP students, and they help support this stuff. If you are interested in working on with AMP or with entrepreneurial issues or helping support it, please do contact Cindy or whoever afterwards. Please keep your eye open for more of these presentations, because I think you can really benefit from them. I was astonished to hear last week that one of the most popular restaurants in town, Black Dog, is apparently limited to when it can open because it's short of staff, and that's an unbelievable thing given that we have all of you sitting here and some of you might be looking for a job. Yeah, I know it's hard work in the hospitality industry, but as Sean said, this is an incredibly exciting time in Champaign-Urbana. There's so many cool things going on, and it's more than just the food, and it's more than the preparation. It's a whole package. It's about an investment in a sustainable community, and that's kind of partly what we're all about here. So again, huge thanks to Sean. What a great presentation.
Thanks, man.